Our story begins about 800 years ago when powerful demons pushed humanity to the brink of extinction. The remaining humans prayed to the gods for salvation, and thus the Idatens were born. Idatens are special gods that appear into existence when there is great despair and suffering. These new gods defeated the demons, but to guarantee humanity's safety, the gods decided to seal the demons along with themselves. They left only one god behind, named Rin. They gave her the task of protecting the seal and looking over the next generation of Idatens. She was originally a crybaby terrified of most things, but she trained herself in a variety of ways for over 500 years to grow strong enough to overcome anything and anyone. In the present day, Rin trains Hayato, a god who's not particularly smart, but who's incredibly determined to become stronger. However, his training mostly consists of Rin beating him relentlessly. Hayato always hangs out with Isli, another Idaten, and one that focuses more on growing intellectually rather than physically. Instead of training, he spent most of his time learning about humanity's rich and deep culture. They both meet up with Paula, who's another Idaten with a great personality. She tells them that there's a large group of humans gathering by the glaciers up north, which is rather unusual, so they decide to go check it out. Once there, they notice a bunch of soldiers from the Zabal Empire, a weaponized industrial country with polluted air and water that is also full of greed, corruption, and warfare. Paula sneaks past the soldiers and finds a giant demon preserved in ice. This expedition is led by Dr. Obami, who plans to use the demon to conquer the countries that oppose the Zabal Empire, which is basically the entire world. They manage to fully awaken the demon, but as soon as it sees Paula, it attacks. The Zabal army mistakes this as aggression towards them and open fire on the beast. This of course only angers it further. Isli tries to take on the demon himself, but the poor guy just gets his heart broken. Thankfully, Idatens are not human, so they don't need to eat, sleep, or even breathe, and they don't have any vital organs, so they can regenerate endlessly. Hayato joins the fight as well, and does his best Saitama impression by defeating the demon in just one punch. He's also disappointed when he realizes that the fight is already over. Meanwhile, Dr. Obami was watching this entire fight unfold. Once it's over, he flees the scene of the battle in his high-speed jet. Unfortunately, it's not fast enough to get away from Hayato, who pretty casually catches up to him and accidentally crashes the jet. This would of course kill a normal human, but Dr. Obami is no normal human. In fact, he's not human at all. He was merely a cyborg that was being controlled remotely. Elsewhere in the world, the Zabal Empire is pillaging a city and burning it to the ground. Zabal soldiers come across a nun. She's been praying non-stop to God, desperately begging for peace and salvation. But these soldiers are much more interested in her body than any other kind of divinity. As she stares at the ceiling of her church, she wonders if God has completely abandoned mankind. Unfortunately, the gods that do exist aren't the type to answer prayers. After their wounds have healed, Isli and Paula realize that there might be more demons out there, and that it would be smart for them to start training in preparation of other encounters. They decide to join Hayato in his daily ritual of being mercilessly beaten up by Rin, which has been his routine for about 80 years now. Paula and Isli predictably end up in even worse shape than Hayato. Meanwhile, an emergency meeting is called by the Zabal Empire. It turns out that Zabal is actually secretly being run by half-human, half-demon hybrids, and that even the Emperor and Empress of Zabal themselves are demons. The leader of these demons is none other than Dr. Obami, who they refer to as the Demon Lord. He's in a different robotic suit at the moment, while he fixes up the more lifelike one that was previously destroyed. The Demon Lord shows them footage that he captured of the gods fighting against the giant demon. From the footage, they come to the conclusion that the three gods don't seem particularly stronger than the demons in the room, so they decide to send Nickel, one of their strongest demons, to fight against the gods. Her job is simply to assess their strength and, if possible, kill them all. Nickel descends upon the island where the gods reside, with a murderous look on her face, but Rin seems rather unimpressed. Hayato walks up to Nickel, and she doesn't hesitate to rip a hole right through his chest. This isn't enough to finish off Hayato, so he continues to fight. But Nickel proves to be much stronger than him. Rin interferes by knocking out Hayato, forcing him to stop fighting. She decides that she'll be Nickel's opponent from now on. Although Nickel is strong, Rin proves herself to be much stronger and faster than her. Another demon watches the fight, and he's shocked to see someone go toe-to-toe with the Zabal Empire's strongest demon. Rin pauses the fight temporarily to ask Nickel whether she's a demon or a human. Nickel explains that she's a demon-human hybrid that was created by the Demon Lord. That's really all Rin needed to hear for her to take this fight a bit more seriously. She summons a sword from her hand and slices Nickel's head off with such speed that it seemed as though Rin hadn't even moved. The demon that was watching the fight pretty much stains his underwear at the sight of Rin's overwhelming power. He reports back to the other demons at the Zabal Empire about what he just witnessed. But Rin soon appears behind him and takes his life. His screams of agony are all that the demons can hear on the other side of his transmission. After the fight, Easley steals Nickel's head so he can take it to his research lab. Meanwhile, the demons hold another meeting and come to the realization that Rin is infinitely more powerful than they had ever expected, and that the demon race is pretty much doomed. To make matters worse, now that Rin is made aware of the existence of demons within the Zabel Empire, she plans to eradicate every single one of them. Rin doesn't care if she needs to destroy the entire Zabel nation to kill a few demons. You see, the Idaten gods generally don't care about humans. They're compelled, in a way, to protect humanity against demons. But they don't really care about humans killing each other, or poverty, or war, or all the things you would think gods would oppose. The Idatens explain that humans don't care if most of a forest is cut down to be turned into a park, but they would intervene if the entirety of the forest was cut down. In that same way, the Idatens don't care if humans die, but they would intervene to prevent the extinction of humanity. The gods speculate that the demon lord must be a lot stronger than Nickel, so they need to prepare wisely before taking on the Zabel Empire. While Rin stays behind to protect the seal, Easley and the others go and get Prontia, an Idaten who was trained by Rin for 200 years, which makes him the second most powerful god. Once the demons realize that the weaker gods have split up from their master, they send 3 demons after them. While Easley leaves to bring Nickel's head to his research lab, Prontia decides to help Hayato train, but Hayato can't seem to even damage Prontia at all. 2 demons arrive to interfere in their sparring match, but they're also no match for Prontia. Prontia decides to let the weaker demon fight Hayato and Paula while he takes care of the bigger demon. Although Hayato struggles initially, he eventually gains the upper hand and is able to win the fight. Prontia, on the other hand, doesn't struggle at all and wins easily. Back at the lab, Easley is cornered by Piscalet, a demon who's a general of the Zabel Empire. Although she's very powerful, she still has a mostly human body. Easley explains that although human brains are great at resisting pain, they have no defense against pleasure. He affects her with an aphrodisiac that activates her libido and makes it impossible for her to fight back. Easley goes on to explain how, ever since he was brought into this world, he's had an insatiable curiosity to understand the reason for his existence and the origin of all Idatens. He even admits that he's mutilated and performed surgery on countless humans in the pursuit of this knowledge. He cuts her open and performs surgery on her that brainwashes her into a loyal servant. The 2 other demons are also brought to the lab after being defeated, where they're also operated on. After being brainwashed, the demons reveal everything about their society and about how the demon lord created them. They also explain that a demon called Miku is not the most powerful, but she is by far the smartest, and she's the one most likely to give the gods a hard time. They also explain that although they don't know the demon lord's true identity because he always contacts them remotely, they do know that he's existed for over a century, which would be impossible for a human. The gods start to theorize that perhaps the demon lord is an Idaten as well, but then why would he be helping demons? Easley and Prontia continue this conversation in private, while the rest of the gang returns to their little island to continue to train Hayato in preparation of their fight against the Zabel Empire. Easley explains that, since Idatens are born from the thoughts of creatures in despair, Dr. Obami must be an Idaten born from the thoughts of all those demons that died within the seal 800 years ago. To put it simply, the demon lord is an Idaten born from thoughts of demons who cried out for salvation. Back on the island, Hayato continues to train, but after losing every fight to the demons, he becomes annoyed by how weak he is. Prontia arrives and offers some advice to him. He explains that it's easy for Idatens to make themselves lighter, but making yourself heavier could take hundreds of years of training. By controlling their weight, Idatens can increase the speed of their movements and the weight of their attacks in order to make them much more powerful. He tries to make Hayato understand, but Hayato grows impatient and decides to just fight Piscalet again. As they start to fight, Hayato imagines increasing his weight, and when he hits Piscalet, he sends her flying, shocking everyone that he was able to learn so quickly. Prontia realizes that Hayato is actually a prodigy, and that this entire time he was just fighting without any weight behind his punches. With this alone, Hayato is now strong enough to take on the demons and defeat them with ease. Meanwhile, Easley and Paula travel to the religious nation of Cerebale. They introduce themselves as gods, but of course the citizens don't believe them. They open fire on Easley and Paula because they go to church with guns on them for some reason, so Paula jumps down and spreads her angel wings. These wings are fake, and the leader sees through her trick, so he pulls out a gun and shoots her. However, Paula catches the bullet. This inhuman feat brings the men to their knees, who now acknowledge that Paula is indeed a god. While having a meeting with the leaders of the country, Easley explains that the gods will be destroying the Zabel Empire, and that to prevent a global chaos, the gods are prohibiting war between the remaining countries. Instead, the world's remaining superpowers will have to band together to help rebuild Zabel. Miku, the super smart demon, realizes that the gods will surely invade the Zabel Empire, and that the demon race is pretty much doomed. She escapes and leaves a note behind for the demon lord and tells him to escape as well. As she's escaping with 2 other demons in an underground tunnel, the gods arrive at Zabel and start invading the nation with the help of Piscalat and the other brainwashed demons. They forcibly evacuate the area, while Prontia watches the evacuation to try and spot any of the remaining demons. He had been given drawings of the remaining demons, so he has a bit of an idea who to look for. But he can't find any of them despite his wonderful references. Meanwhile, Hayato and his master are flying through the city to search for the demons. They split up, and Rin ends up going against the Empress, while Hayato saves a bunch of slaves, including the nun from earlier, and goes up against the Emperor. Hayato and the Emperor are pretty evenly matched in terms of strength and speed, but the Emperor has more fighting experience, while Hayato basically has infinite stamina. The Emperor eventually loses to Hayato, but the brash god doesn't even bother to finish him off. He's just satisfied that he won the fight. Having witnessed the fight, the nun arrives and tries to save the Emperor. He tells her that he's just happy to be flashed by a young woman before his death, and to leave him to die. She refuses to let him die, but there's really nothing she can do for him now. As he dies, she cries out that if only she had been stronger, she could have protected others and things would not have turned out this way. Meanwhile, Rin is fighting against the Empress and she's struggling a little bit, because she's kind of dumb and keeps falling for all of the Empress's traps. But Rin is overwhelmingly powerful and regenerates through every single attack. She eventually wins the fight, but before she has a chance to finish off the Empress, the Demon Lord appears. He tells Rin that he remembers how she used to be a crybaby, and even remembers where her sword came from. Rin is stunned by this revelation, and starts to feel as though she's talking to her grandfather, one of the original Idatens that sealed themselves with the demons. The Empress uses this opportunity to try and kill Rin by slicing through her with her own sword, and although it looked for a moment like it could work, Rin is far too strong. She grabs onto the Empress's neck and kills her in a matter of seconds. Since the sword slash also obliterated the Demon Lord's robotic suit, Rin is left alone, and cries out for her grandfather. Elsewhere, Hayato sees a portal in the sky and pulls a girl out of it. A new Idaten has just been brought into this world, and she surprisingly has the same appearance as the nun from earlier. While Hayato and the new Idaten fly back to the island, Prontia destroys what remains of the Zabel Empire. A few years have passed, and Rin is still inconsolable after her encounter with the Demon Lord, which reminded her of her grandfather. Meanwhile, the rest of the gods are either busy training to exterminate the demons that got away, or are working in Zabel to rebuild the empire. Miku is hiding in a cheap apartment, looking through social media to try to find a vulnerable victim that they can impersonate. After a few years, they find a shut-in who lives alone, has no relatives, no friends, and spends all day inside watching anime recaps. They kill her and take her face so they can start assuming her identity. 7 years later, purebred demons have started to be found in nature. One of the demons that escaped the Zabel invasion is giving birth to purebred demons directly into the ocean. These demons grow rapidly by eating fish, whales, and all kinds of sea creatures. Once Miku is reunited with the Demon Lord, who is still contacting them remotely, they put a plan in motion to capture the gods and rebuild the demon race. They realize that Easley is the smartest god, and that they have to get rid of him if they want to have a real chance of winning. The Demon Lord infiltrates the new Zabel Empire in disguise, and corners Piscalat with the same aphrodisiac strategy that Easley had used against her. The Demon Lord operates on her, and undoes the brainwashing that was previously done to her by Easley. Now back to normal, a furious Piscalat mutilates Easley before capturing him and Paula. Both Idatens are taken underground, where they are savagely and violently tortured by the demons. Thank you so much for watching, my beautiful weebs. This has been Recap Sensei, and I hope to see you all again in the next video.